Are you ready to navigate the new way to work? Forbes Books presents Dare to Care in the Workplace with Kathleen Quinn Botaw. Here's Kathleen.
Welcome back to Dare to Care in the Workplace and my conversation with Amelia Dunlop, the Chief Experience Officer at Deloitte Digital. She has been recognized with Consulting Magazine's Top Women in Technology Award for Excellence in Innovation. Now, Amelia, we really dug into your second book, The 4 Factors of Trust. But tell me about the inspiration for your first book, the Wall Street Journal bestseller, Elevating the Human Experience, 3 Paths to Love and Worth at Work.
It really was a project that was motivated by just the idea that I wanted to write the book I wanted to read. And I did a lot of research across various different domains. And I also wanted to do both qualitative and quantitative research to bring that perspective of what does that mean to feel loved and worthy when we show up at work.
Wonderful. Is there a third book percolating?
I'd say maybe. I would never say never.
As an author of 2 books as well, Solve the People Puzzle and Dare to Care in the Workplace, I feel like once you write your first book, there's always a little book brewing somewhere in there. Did you find that as well as an author?
Yeah, I mean, I very much enjoy the writing process, and I subscribe to the idea that you actually haven't had an idea until you've written it down, and that it's a way of pressure testing the strength of your idea, the wording of your idea, the conclusions in your idea. So I do find that I learn a lot by writing, and I appreciate very good quality writing.
Yes, lovely. I love that comment. Now, your team just released a new report, and it highlights some top 5 challenges that are faced by experienced leaders. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. So as part of my role here at Deloitte Digital, as the Chief Experience Officer, I formed a community that I call the Human Experience Advisory Board. And it's just a collection of the senior-most experienced leaders, both who look after the workforce and also who look after their customers. And it's a vibrant group of folks. And we get together quarterly, and we always sort of talk about the kind of cutting-edge ideas, right? And so one of the things I wanted to do was, given that we know that the Chief Experience Officer is one of the fastest-growing roles, I think 90% of Fortune 500s now have someone in that kind of a role. It's just to understand what are the challenges of being in that new role. What are some challenges that are shared across different industries? Because it can feel very lonely, right? If you're having that experience. So I commissioned a study of 250 chief experience officers in the United States. I just asked them a number of questions about what challenges they face in the role. And this report, which we just launched, we kind of boiled it down to kind of the top 5 challenges. I think some of the most interesting ones are, we know that about 50% of CXOs are the first in that role. So they are defining that role. They are shaping the role for the organization. We know that there's some shared challenges while they might have senior sponsorship and CEO level support, they also have the number one challenge is collaboration and getting things done across the organization. So like that dichotomy between, yes, the CEO and the executive team wants this to happen, but that you have to lead a lot through the influence of your peers. So that's a big challenge. I think another big challenge is really about measurement and the fact that experience can be very subjective. And I talk about the street lamp effect. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
No, I'm not. Tell us more.
Idea, Kathleen, like, why are you looking for your keys under the street lamp? Did you lose them there? And she's like, well, no, I didn't lose them there, but it's the only place that we have light. And so much of measurement today, and experience measurement in particular, suffers from that problem where it doesn't necessarily directly measure the experience, but we happen to have it. We happen to already gather it. We happen to have this pile of data that already exists. And how as experience officers, we need to start measuring new things. And then finally, I'll just mention another one, which is the rise of AI. How we are all aware of the various use cases, both from employee and customer perspective, and curious and perhaps a bit fearful about the potential applications of AI. But what we've observed is that there's no customer or employee who's asking for AI. We're just asking for better experiences. And so that is the challenge of the Chief Experience Officer. And how do we incorporate AI in a way that delivers those delightful experiences for the people we're trying to serve.
Yeah, and the delightful experience is the key. And AI isn't really all that new, but it is really come into all of our lives so dramatically in the last, 18 months? So I want to get back to some of the things you said about this report that are fascinating to me. Can you expand a little bit more on measuring the experience? Where isn't the light? And what should we be looking for to measure?
So in the study, we shared that the majority of experience officers have some mixture of customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, effort, a mix of different scores that tend to be kind of over the shoulder retroactive, right? So an experience that's already happened, and here's how we would evaluate it. But it's what the challenge is creating what I would call the connectivity between operationally, did something happen, right? You called into the contact center, you went into the shop. Experientially, did you like it or not? Thumbs up, thumbs down. And then financially, does it connect to any outcome that matters? And it's that connectivity at a moment that matters for a customer or for an employee that is very much the job of experience measurement and it's the chief experience officer. Because otherwise, we could go and invest lots and lots of money and time and attention on an experience that really doesn't matter and really isn't. We aren't really making it any better, right? So we kind of need to know that it matters, that we can make it better, and that it's going to drive repeat customers or long time, lifetime loyalty of that customer. And so I think that really is the challenge and the work that we have to do.
And do you think the measurement should be equally on customers and employees, or on employees and then customers? Where should somebody start?
Sure. I mean, as you've heard me talk about, I believe in the human experience and bringing a human-centered design perspective to all experiences. And then understanding that we play different roles in our communities. And so some are customer roles and some are employee roles and others are partner roles. Where you start, just like I tell my son as he's writing his college essays, you start by, to eat an elephant, you have to start by one bite at a time. So I think the way to get started is to pick a moment that matters in the journey for either your customer or for your employee and start to really inquire what data exists operationally. Do you have any measure in place yet measuring the experience? And then does it connect to any of the financial data that you're trying to measure? And in terms of, do you start with customer or employee? I think that really depends on your kind of area of focus, right? So I work with a lot of people experience leaders who are very diligently trying to do this for their workforces, and then equally for people who are trying to do it for their customers.
I have a belief that if we focus on the employee experience, others will have a good experience too. So if the employee has a good experience, she's interfacing with all the other employees, all the other, managers and leaders, and usually, interfacing with your customers, all boats rise. We used to focus 100% of our attention on the customer experience. And I see a shift to, as you said, there's employees, there's customers, there's partners, and there's humans involved in that entire transaction. So is there any validity in your research at all that if the employee is touching all of those people, that might be a good place to start?
No, I mean, I love where what you were going with there. I think it's more than just a belief, right? So we do know that those employees who have better experiences lead to better customer experiences. So there is data that we share in the Trust book about that. It's the entire ecosystem. I think what we also saw evidence of during the pandemic was just the greater visibility into the employee-customer interaction and how we saw customers increasingly voting with their feet when they felt like employees in organizations were not being well treated. And so that we do have that kind of purchasing power as customers to vote with our wallets. Again, my perspective is that both matter and how we kind of treat people as humans matter. And, the only way to get started is to get started.
Start somewhere. I think that would be a great part to the journey. And how are you helping people with AI, especially at Deloitte? Like, I first heard about artificial intelligence from a company in Cambridge, Massachusetts in the 1980s called Thinking Machines. I don't know if anybody remembers that company, but it ultimately went out of business, but it was one of the first pioneers in this artificial intelligence, which has become artificial intelligence. How should people think about that from an experience perspective? Because it's almost like another audience we need to be vitally aware of because it affects the employee, the customer, the partner, and whoever, any other human, and how they experience your organization. So can you comment a little bit on that?
Sure. I'll tell you a story. So it was actually, I would say it's about this time last year. So about a year ago, I sat next to my colleague and partner, Nitin Mittal, who is the global head of generative AI for Deloitte Digital, right? So we were sitting next to each other at a dinner. I thought, wasn't this fascinating? Like, I'm leading the human experience as a signature issue. I just written these 2 books all about the importance of the human and why we build trust with humanity. And here's our leader from generative AI. And I wonder if we're ready to talk about, right? And we had this fascinating conversation because what I really appreciated is what Nitin shared with me at the time. And this, by the way, this is before the launch of ChatGPT, broadly to the public, was that his perspective was that it isn't that AI is going to replace us. It's that a human who's using AI will. And so this is not like this narrative of human versus machine. Like that's not quite the right framing, but that what we talk about is this idea of human with machine. And since then, Nitin and I have gone on to speak publicly on that topic. We've co-authored papers on it, and that's very much how we at Deloitte are orienting our whole perspective around AI. Is what does that mean for us to be human with machine? And it goes back to, you won't be surprised that trust is a really important part of that. What we've realized is just about everyone out there has a use case now of that they've kind of spun up with AI, but to get to scale it and to get to adoption really requires that the humans, us, feel really comfortable using it. And that means we need to both measure and use trust to grow that adoption, both with our customers and with our employees.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I love that story you shared because I've been seeing in my industries, and I've got several, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I have a recruiting business. We do some retention work as well, basically in that human world. We hang out in that human world. And I've seen some people in the speaking world create these avatars just in kind of response to the coolness of AI. People love to jump on an issue and just create these things. Well, the marketplace doesn't like to be spoken to by a creation, a cartoon of yourself speaking. My perspective has been experiencing it, which is perfect for our conversation. Let's experience it a little bit. What are the positive pieces? What are the pieces we need to be exploring a little bit more? Not rejecting it because we don't like it, but let's have some common experience around working with robotics, which has been, in creation since the late 70s, early 80s, for a very long time. It's just now becoming really cool and sexy out there, and everybody's talking about it.
I agree. And another kind of reframe that I like to offer is that the whole field of human-centered design emerged with the growth of larger and larger machines, right? So, in the 1990s with the creation of one of the first smartphones, as I understand it, about 90% of the features in that first smartphone, no human ever used, because that was what creating something that technology could produce, not what a human ever wanted to use or solve a human problem. And so I think we've gotten smarter, right? And we've created this whole field of human factor interface. And there's a way in which I think AI is just another tool, just like we're now very comfortable using laptops and cell phones and video cameras to take all of our calls, that it's another tool that we as humans will figure out what is our role to play? What is that interface? How can we use this tool to solve hard problems for the human on the other end?
Absolutely. And I believe it will create more interesting, fun jobs for people because we'll need to interface with the artificial intelligence over time. And we don't even know what that's going to look like yet. So I think being more open to it, having some experiences with it. I think that's going to be great. I really love this report. How can people get access to this report?
The Chief Experience Officer report on the kind of the challenges that they face is available on DeloitteDigital.com. And also we just shared it on our LinkedIn. It's on my personal LinkedIn. So you can find me at Amelia Dunlop, and you can find a copy of the report there easily as well.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, I really want to thank you for joining me today. I really enjoyed our discussion, understanding a little bit more about you and your human experience in the world. I appreciate your contributions throughout not only your 2 books, but who you've been so far, and I can't wait to watch what more you're going to do. So thank you for being with me today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It was a great conversation.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for listening to another episode of Dare to Care in the Workplace. Please make sure to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss another future episode. Until we meet again.
This has been Dare to Care in the Workplace. To connect with Kathleen, go to KathleenQuinnBotaw.com. Kathleen's book, Dare to Care, is available wherever books are sold. Dare to Care in the Workplace is a production of Forbes Books.